Welcome to the Phelan Piñon Hills Community Service District Waste and Recycling Meeting. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody rise. Thank you. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Note that both directors are here. Agenda, do we have any changes?
No changes.
Okay, for approval?
Motion to approve.
And I'll second that. Public comment, do we have anybody in public that wishes to make comment?
Okay, please use a microphone.
This is more of a public question, but when I took my waste to the dump this past week, the lady at the window, when I asked her for a receipt, we had a whole conversation. Anyways, at the end of it, when I asked her for a receipt, she said, "Oh, sure." And then I was leaving, she said, "Make sure you keep that." And I said, "Oh, I know, the local government is collecting it." And she said, "No, I heard that the county is going to require that you use the dump card at least once a month in order to qualify to get a dump card next year."
That's for the county's process.
Understood. Yeah.
The county,
I
yeah,
was,
we're going to
I
get
was
into
curious
the.
if we had heard
No, I've
about
heard
the county
everything
moving
about.
that way.
I've heard everything, but we're going to talk about that today.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, my comment was mainly I wanted to know what we knew about the county
Yeah.
moving in that direction. Thank you.
Anybody else available?
No one's on Zoom.
Okay. Approval of minutes. I looked over them and I'll give it a first.
And I'll second them.
Okay, update on uniform collection. Kim?
Okay. So we've been meeting weekly with CR&R to get the rollout going. We received a little over 1,000 applications so far, and it's a lot of processing. And we've hit a few snags, of course, with everything as expected. But for example, we had 800 of our residents that were pulled into the wrong rate code by CR&R's billing staff, and they were overcharged, but then they were promptly issued a credit. Correct, Brandon?
That's correct. I think it was 820 customers incorrectly pulled from data to do billing, immediately credited to the account. So if you got that bill in the mail that says you owe 122, as soon as we bring your account up, it shows the actual price, which is 96.46 or whatever it is. So yeah, immediately credited.
Yeah, so thankfully that was discovered by them and corrected. And then our mailer that we sent out, sign up for solid waste service with our application, got sent out to some county unincorporated areas in addition to our area. So if you live in unincorporated Victorville, looks like some parts of Oak Hills, it looks like some Wrightwood people even, they got our application. Unfortunately for the county and for Wrightwood, our rates are less. So I don't know how they're handling it. We did apologize to the county for that, but that was not our error. That was CR&R's. So
Yes.
I don't think that'll ever happen again with CR&R pulling wrong rate codes.
Correct. Yeah, we dove into that and figured out why that was done too, and then we won't have to worry about that ever again. So we're good there too.
So just to be clear on the credit for the bill, when they billed the extra money, is that a credit for next month's bill?
No,
or
that's
did you
immediately reduced back to your same price. So you were charged the extra, however much it is for, for another area. Obviously, our prices here are a lot cheaper, so it's immediately credited on your account. That's what I'm saying. If you have a bill that says you owe amount X, your actual amount that you owe on our system, the live system, is the correct amount. So when you call or come in to pay your bill, as soon as we pull that info up, it gives the correct amount that it owes.
Just a piece of paper will show it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they were just billed the incorrect amount, so not necessarily paid yet. So And of course, if somebody gets that bill and they have any questions, they can always call. I mean, I'm taking phone calls right now personally from people calling me directly. And we're getting it all straightened out. Unfortunately, it happened. And again, I don't think CRNR will do that again. And not Brandon's fault. This is all down at corporate billing. So don't beat him up.
It is. I mean, it's different for, we knew we were going to have our challenges too, right? With the whole new rollout and in different jurisdictions. So it's kind of expected, but it's definitely something that we learn from, and then we make sure it doesn't ever happen again. So we feel good about it.
Yeah, and it's about 2 to 3 weeks now for any new service deliveries or changes, just because, I mean, we did get 1,000 applications. It is tracking now slightly ahead, almost 60% for CRNR, and then the rest are identified self-haulers. So self-haulers are easy. They're just basically a check mark in CRNR system just for state tracking.
I've also heard complaints about not answering the phone at CRNR. Is that because you're getting so many phone calls right now?
It's probably exactly what it is. So we went from, we looked at what we used to get prior to the rollout and prior to the changes, and it was 30 to 40 a month down at corporate. We're at 70 calls a day at our office. And our office is dedicated strictly to PPHCSD, the customer service rep that we have.
Yeah,
so it is one customer service rep.
We're getting the same amount, if not more, in our
Yeah.
office. And what we've done, because people were getting stuck in like a circular loop, if CRNR has like a productivity type thing set up, not necessarily what's best for customer service, because not everybody is, like our community, and we have a lot to explain to our customers. And so if calls aren't answered in a certain amount of time, they were being routed down to corporate, and then corporate, they still don't quite understand what we're doing up here. And so we fixed it this last week to where if they're too busy at the local office, it'll automatically forward to our office, so our staff answers. And so I have a temp starting tomorrow to help with solid waste phone calls and applications, because we are swamped. It is nonstop all the time now. Every customer has a solid waste question.
I'm sure it's going to get better with time, though. So I just wanted to bring it up because that had been brought up to me.
Yeah, we've already talked about it too. I mean, once we get through the application process, that's kind of the hardest process, right? We talked about, 1,050 is what we're at right now of
Yeah.
applications, and that's time consuming. It takes up personnel. And those are most of the phone calls too. So once that's all done, you don't have to redo it. It's done now, right? And then we'll deal with the regular phone calls.
Yeah, that'll just end up being like billing,
Yeah.
moving, changing service types, things like that. So,
With the 1,000, what percentage is that now covered of a whole?
so we have about 8,500 likely trash accounts.
So we're an eighth of the way in.
We're getting there. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is good. And this is like all proactive people doing it. So, we're mailing it out and they're turning them in. So this is all very good. And then we're going to mail it out again in our August bills. And so is CRNR, hopefully only to our customers.
Correct. Only PPHCSD customers.
And then as far as the self-haulers, we've been telling all the self-haulers, when you go to the transfer station, you need to get a receipt, hold on to it for a year. Not a calendar year, just like a rolling year. And then source separate. Well, we found out that they're really not doing the source separation at the transfer station yet. When I called the county to find out why, it's because Athens' contract doesn't require them to do that. So they're not doing it. And so the county is going through a contract amendment with Athens to get them to do what the state is requiring. So,
Which I kind of want to clarify too, like any material that we pick up, recycle and organics, whatever it is, we're not taking any of that to the transfer station right now. So all the commercial recycle and the small community that we do here in Phelan, that is going to a MRF, Burtech MRF. It's not going here because obviously it wouldn't matter if it went here, right? So
you're
Yeah.
working with an outside company to make it happen?
it goes to the Burtech. It always
Okay.
has gone to the Burtech.
Oh, okay.
MRF, yeah.
yeah, and
We don't-
so,
we don't
so
use
our,
transfer
yeah, can
Are
you
we-
use the microphone?
Yeah.
Does that mean you're already starting to pick up organics and recycling from some customers?
Just
Not here.
commercial. Just commercial.
And the few houses and the small tract that's over here.
Oh, okay, because there was some comments on Facebook today that it had started. And
No, so what has started is the rollout of the barrels. So everybody's gonna start receiving now, like we've talked about in the meetings, July 1, we begin the rollout of all these new barrels, right?
Gonna
You get
take
them-
6 months for everybody to
Right.
get them.
Right,
And
no,
then-
I understand, but the conversation on Facebook, there were 4 or 5 people who said that they were getting recycling picked up and that it was the recycling and organics was a different day.
So where
from-
did they live? Because
Right.
in the county service area, it's
I mean,
different than Phelan and
I
Piñon Hills.
don't know, but it was,
Yeah.
I'm feeling informed.
This
So
is- this
I
is-
did ask that
yeah.
question, so.
And I think, well, I mean, people are confused too. I had talked to a lady today who said, well, I live in Phelan, and she doesn't. She's in SP 20 area. It hasn't, CSD has nothing to do with her.
Right.
So in other areas, we're doing different projects, right? And
Okay.
I won't even get into that, but here in Phelan, residentially, we are not picking up organics right now. We're
Okay.
gonna deliver
And-
carts.
And they said that the guy checked the bins, so that's definitely not you guys then, right?
No,
Not in
absolutely
our
not.
There's no bin
territory.
checking happening yet either.
No,
No.
Okay.
no, we're not doing enforcement
Nobody's
till
got
next
time for
year.
that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I was confused.
Checking
No,
nothing
no.
yet, man.
And it is very confusing. Like, this is so funny now looking back, hindsight's 2020. I thought, oh, let's do our rollout concurrently with the county because we're all going to be doing the same education and like it's going to be a similar program. It's like, yeah, that was probably a bad idea because the county has decided to do things so different.
Yes.
And they have way different costs, requirements,
Yes.
everything. So it's like, I'm not surprised that the lady at the transfer station told you that. So in order to renew your exemption permit from the county to use your dump card, if you live in Oak Hills or another unincorporated part of the county, you do have to turn in receipts to get your exemption permit to use your dump card. The county has not said you need to turn in these receipts to get your dump card. They couldn't because you pay for that dump card on your taxes.
I asked the lady that.
But here's the thing, I wouldn't expect an operator of the Athens station to
Right.
know that. And even if she's a county employee, she's giving out the correct county information. She's not giving out the correct PPH CSD information. And so
Exactly.
these are all conversations that are ongoing with the county to get this cleaned up. And it's unfortunate that we're losing so much momentum with the source separation at the transfer station because like everybody was doing it and they're calling me, hey Kim, you told me to do this. And I went there and it all went in one pile. I'm like, I know, and it's really frustrating, but I can't make the county do what they're supposed to do. So it's not fun right now, but continue to what I'm saying, practice source separating because at some point it will happen at the transfer station and we will be collecting all of our materials separately. So for now, everything's one truck until everybody has all the containers and we have all the new trucks and then we'll be collecting everything separately. Although we should be getting the split body trucks.
Correct.
So I do anticipate seeing some
Yes.
Facebook posts where
And we should cover that too.
they picked
yeah.
it up in one truck.
We should cover it for the next 6 months every
Yes, they
meeting.
And
did.
they didn't see the two arms
It is
picking
one
up
truck,
two.
but there's two different compartments in
Yeah,
the
there's
truck.
so it's a wall that runs right down the middle of the truck, right? And then there's a ram that kind of help compress everything. That's split as well. So there's two completely opposing sides that will never mix, never touch, and the rear doors actually open separately too, so we can go to the MRF. And where we take our single stream recycle and organics is the same place, just different tipping floors, right? So we'll drive over there, drop the recycle, and then drive to the next tipping floor and drop the organics. But I don't want anybody freaking out when they see us picking it up in the same truck thinking we're blending it, because we're not.
Yeah, so January is our timeline for collecting everything separately.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do some customer education. I might even go out and make a video of Brandon picking up trash
Yeah.
just to show how this truck
Absolutely.
looks. And then I might even follow him to the dump just to or to the Burtech facility to, show how the disposing works, just like a little informational.
Well,
Yeah.
we
Video.
have them, also, when you do get one, have one possibly available at a board meeting so the board can see it, so they can explain it to it what it is.
Well, that's what we had talked about too.
That
is
would be
kinda
really
doing a
good, too.
workshop and having the truck here so people can
Yeah.
see it. you
So
know.
once he gets the truck delivered, we're gonna schedule like a recycling public workshop, whatever.
Show and
People-
tell time?
People can come out and we can practice sorting things and then they can see the brand new shiny truck before it gets dirty and, do
Yep.
a demonstration of how it works.
It'd be cool to get a tour of the MRF too. That's awesome how that thing works. It's
I-
remarkable.
I think that's really important too. If we do that as well, and we kind of see where our material's going and the importance of what, if we're putting stuff that's not supposed to go in there, what can actually happen too. So I think that's important as well, yeah.
Yeah, I know we do want to get our new board members down to the CR&R facility out in Paris to see that, because, I mean, that's like a state-of-the-art processing facility. And then, of course, we could always request a tour of Vertex Smurf
Yeah.
out here in Victorville. So,
If
and
we feel-
that's the other thing that we're dealing with right now too, is because as a jurisdiction, one of our compliance action plans is we need to get contracts with our basically Vertec right now about what type of materials can go into the green pile, so to speak, and whether it's compostable bags, if they can be processed, how the food needs to go, if it's going to go in a plastic bag, which yes, it is right now. And it was odd because this whole time with the county, because they're supposed to be doing, source separating at the transfer facility, and it's the same amount of trash, right? It's just being separated out into 3 piles. They told me that we can only take trash there now with CR&R collection, whereas everything was going there before, which is why we've had to scramble to get Vertec to assist us with taking our recycling and our green waste, because they won't let us take it to the transfer facility now, which doesn't make sense because our constituents pay for all disposal costs on their tax bill. And that tax bill amount is offset in our collection rates. And so now they're telling us we have to go to Vertec, which of course is charging us to dispose of residential waste there. And the county told me it's because, well, they can't accept more material. And I'm like, it's the same amount of material.
Just separate.
It's separated. I'm just having a really hard time understanding that. So I'm working with CalRecycle right now, actually their enforcement arm, to get that answer for me, because I just don't have a good answer from the county why CR&R can't continue to take all of the residential waste to the transfer station. I understand commercial because it's separate, it's treated separately, but I don't understand residential. It was one big pile of trash going there now, same amount. We haven't had a mass population explosion out here, and now it would just be coming in, 2 or 3 trucks and separate and going into the separate piles once they get that going. Very interesting. I don't even think they know why, so hopefully we'll get that sorted out soon, especially
Yeah.
before we start looking at rates for next year.
Yes.
So a thought on that, I mean, I've been wondering this, are they moving the transfer station to waste only? And that's why they're not even gonna do source separating, because they won't let us take?
Yeah, but then that doesn't address their self-hauler issue, because they're allowing self-hauling,
Right,
and the self-hauling by CalRecycle standards requirements, you have to separate it.
right,
Yeah.
So I don't know how they could get away from having a transfer facility that doesn't
yeah,
separate, unless they're gonna move towards banning all self-hauling,
right.
which they could.
could,
They could
yeah.
decide to
Yeah.
remove that assessment from the tax rolls and not issue dump permits anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I'm noticing Cheryl Roden is with us. Cheryl, do you have any questions? Or even replies?
Well, I had another
You
one.
muted,
actually.
Cheryl? Oh, hang on,
Go
Peter
ahead,
has one
go
more
ahead,
thing to
Cheryl.
add. Peter has one more thing to add, and we've got a eternal, okay. Peter has one more thing to add, hang on.
I was gonna bring this to the canceled meeting, but I was reading that there was an advisory panel to the assembly that did a deep dive into SB 1383 and then recommended that the assembly postpone
Yeah.
enforcement of SB 1383.
You're talking about the Little Hoover Commission.
Yes.
They are an advisory board. Nothing they ever recommend ever pans out. And CalRecycle is vehemently opposed, as are most haulers and jurisdictions at this point, because they've already spent so much money and time on this,
Yeah.
to stopping this at this point. And so
Yeah, they were just gonna delay implementation.
they're not
right?
delaying anything. So
Okay.
their recommendation was that CalRecycle look at delaying implementation, but they would need to wait till the next legislative session to decide this. So at this point in time, There's no delay. There's
Okay.
nothing official at
Right.
all, other than that was their advisory opinion.
I was wondering if the county was waiting, thinking that might happen on the source separation too.
No, I think the county's just waiting on getting their contract cleaned up. 'Cause
Yeah, I think
Athens-
that's a total Athens thing, because the
Yeah.
county's already moved forward with source separating curbside,
Okay,
and they've
And they
made
have a
that.
compliance order too.
Right.
So,
okay. Cool, thank you.
yep.
Sorry about that, Peter.
Yeah, the Little Hoover Commission has made lots of recommendations throughout the years that never get anywhere, unfortunately.
And
Even on water quality side too, so.
they put out a lot of recommendations out of Little Hoover. You'll see them come up from time a lot. Cheryl, sorry about that interruption. You're muted. There we are.
That's perfect. Okay, Peter interrupts me all the time. I'm sorry I came late and missed part of the discussion on the snafu with the extra billing. I have, for those of us that have automatic payment through our credit card, is there going to be, was it billed correctly? I haven't looked at, or was it, is there going to be a credit? How's that going to work?
Yeah, so that's immediately credited to the account. I will have to get back to you and make sure that's exactly what happened on every direct deposit account or direct payment account if you have direct payment set up. But it should have immediately credited back to your card as well.
Great.
Yeah,
will
I was
call you,
told that it
Brandon.
was immediately refunds were issued
Yes.
back to credit card
Great.
payments.
I will call you, Brandon, hopefully tomorrow morning if you're
Yeah.
going to be around. Because I have another credit problem to discuss that this meeting doesn't need to worry.
Okay.
Thank you. And I just have comments going forward in today on some of the ordinance changes and the cost analysis when you get to that.
Sorry, mute. Does help if I have the on button. Do we have anything else we need to go over with the uniform collection, or do we feel like we've shook this out real well?
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, and we're meeting every week to iron this stuff out. Like I said, we hired a temp to kind of get through these applications faster, so.
Okay, then let's move on to SB 1383 and the ordinance things. Oh, boy.
Yep, so I got the corrections back from the attorney. And so after talking with Cal Recycle and of course getting our self-hauler program approved, we just needed to make some minor changes regarding collection arrangements, because initially our first round of this ordinance specified you have to have curbside collection, and then obviously now we also have the self-haul. So this correction in here, provisions for that. There was like a typo for the waivers for generators. It said 4 containers, but obviously we have 3 containers. And then the public nuisance language, we added in, you need to make arrangements not only for collection service, but self-hauling, so one or the other. That's kind of it. And if you don't, make arrangements or identify yourself as a self-hauler, obviously we have some enforcement ability here, because the state requires it. Literally, I have to be able to tell them how many self-haulers I have, how many collection customers I have. And the only way we can do that is if we identify them. And so far it's going pretty good through the application process. And then, yeah, so this is going to go to next week's board meeting. We'll have the first reading so they can review these changes. And then the second reading will be following that with the public hearing. That'll be the second meeting in August. So were there any questions on the content of the ordinance?
Not for myself. Director Hayes?
Nope, I'll look it over again, and then we're gonna have a couple more chances anyways.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, and then, regarding de minimis, there is no de minimis exemption for SB 1383 for residential customers. And the way we're handling, if you don't have a lot of organics, right, you're just going to put a self-hauler of that type. So, and again, it's me, it's Linda. we're going to be that way forever, you know, having limited staff. We're not out there trying to ding people on any of this. And like, I even brought up to Cal Recycle, like, hey, people who have chickens, like, they're not composting necessarily. They're feeding the chickens, you know, all of these scraps. So we're not going to expect to see a compost pile for food scraps if you have chickens. They
Or
eat
pigs,
everything. Or pigs, or goats, or whatever livestock you have. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. We never like thought about that. I'm like, I know, that's why I'm telling you. So. Fresh fruit, you have some bougie chickens.
Must be some good eggs.
That's funny. Yeah, chickens are funny. So then I did this, and Cheryl, I apologize. I just finished this. I'll upload it after the meeting. I did a quick analysis of the staff time for issuing the penalties. So again, like, a penalty is supposed to be punitive in nature. It's not a cost recovery thing for the district. And our first penalty starts at $250. And we don't just like go over to Peter's house and lift up his lid and see, oh my gosh, Peter, you have a water bottle in your trash. Here's a $250 fine. That is absolutely not what happens. What happens is you get a flyer, right? This is how you source separate. And then if you continue to do this, then we're going to have one of CR&R staff or one of my staff members go out there and be like, hey, Peter, we noticed like you keep putting recycling in your trash. Can we talk to you about like source separating? And then like if you just flat out refuse, you know, we've called you a bunch of times. We've sent you a bunch of letters about like, if you keep doing this, you're going to end up with a penalty. We don't want you to get a penalty. Like, quit doing this. You know, we're talking 3 letters at least, 3 phone calls at least, probably some site visits. Then you're going to get issued a fine. And by then we've spent well over $250 trying to get you compliant. And then you still have an appeals process. You can appeal to the GM. And then if you don't like his answer on your fine, then you appeal to the board. So it's not like I'm out there with a ticket book handing out fines like parking tickets. That is not how any of our ordinance operations work. So I think reducing the fine from $250, there's no point in doing that because we're not even recovering our costs. And we don't really issue fines at the district for stuff like this because we do the education. And even with like our water leaks, we've never issued a fine. We issue, you know, first, second, third warning letters. We go meet with people to help them figure out where their leak is coming from. So, you know, because I mean, that's a violation of one of our ordinances that you're going to fix your leaks, right? And we don't issue those. Amy, we've never issued a water leak fine, ever. We just help people, you know, get them fixed. And so that's what we're going to do with solid waste. The only fines that we have issued are water theft. And that's pretty cut and dry. We see you stealing water, and we do actually have a ticket book for that.
So you try to meet them where they're at?
Yeah. But then again, most of the time, like, we go through a process with them where they're like, hey, no, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let me come in and pay for the water. And then we set them up with an account, like a hydrant account, or we get them set up at the fill station and they don't do that again. Or, you know, we do have instances where it's like egregious water theft. And so they get the full penalty. So that's that. And this is like assuming we don't have to have Steve Kennedy involved. We don't have to have the full board appeal. So like the first minimum level fine, $250, does not even cover our costs for getting you to that point, because we've invested a lot of our time and resources. I will point out productive hourly rate is not the actual rate of our staff. That is, you know, taxes, benefits, equipment, all of that stuff that's involved with employing a person. So when I post that, do not think that we are earning that. That's just the cost of.
So the full cost of them sitting there doing
Yes.
what they're doing, including the energy costs of this, that.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is like assuming bare minimum time. Usually the phone calls are way longer than that. So about $250 on average by the time we issue the first fine. So are there any questions on that?
Not for me. Clerk
Nope.
Hayes?
Looks good to me. I think
Um,
that's fair.
I think we'll start with in person with Peter if he has any questions. None? Okay, how about you, Cheryl? About any of it, even the ordinance?
You're muted.
Sorry,
Ye-
or this afternoon. That might be why I'm having trouble. I think it's morning. I also had some questions on the ordinance. But I can go back on the cost analysis first, which is simply that I understand the premise that you've done an analysis that I appreciate you're gonna put up so we can look at it. But the first fine, I think, for water theft is like $50. And so that seems like it would have to cost more for that. And keep in mind that I don't care how much you charge people for water theft. I just think just $250 is too high for people on the trash issue. And I may have more comments when I've taken a look at your cost analysis on that, Kim.
Yeah,
And then I
water
have-
theft, we have two different fine structures there. So we have meter tampering, right? So we have, it's like two-pronged, but then we actually do have some hefty fines. The first time for water theft is $1,000. So I don't know where you're getting $50.
Okay, well, I can send you something on it. I looked at the ordinance and it's.
Yeah,
there's
send me
some-
what you're looking at. Might be older.
Yeah.
We have a lot of different fines and things related to water,
Yeah.
so.
It's what was on the website
Yeah.
under the ordinances. But I can tell you what I looked at.
Yeah, please
Um,
do.
Be helpful.
Okay, some questions on the ordinance, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think section 7, I don't have it in front of me, because I can't. But on the frequency, I don't know if there needs to be some clarification there on self-haul and frequency. How often do self-haulers, are they required to go?
They're supposed to go once a week per health code, so we legally can't put anything less than what state law is in here. I mean, the county's requiring at least once a month to go, but we're just not specifying. You're just gonna keep what receipts you have.
Okay. And in section 8, it mentions hazardous pickup. Are we gonna have that?
No, not right now. We'll have we always have that option, but we don't have the way to pick that up right now. It'd be crazy expensive.
But possibly in the future.
It is always possible, yeah.
Yeah, that would be terrific. Absolutely terrific. It's something I'd even pay for. You know, so keep that in mind. I probably shouldn't have said that. On section
How much would
16
you pay for it?
Exactly. Well, you know, it's schlepp 5 gallons to Hesperia or Victorville between this time and that time, has to be in a certain container, blah, blah. Local or pick up at my house, I would pay for it. Okay, in section 16, I think that needs a reference to the self-haul clause. That's just a suggestion. No, you don't have to comment.
Hold on, you're moving much faster than I can turn pages.
Huh? I didn't hear you.
She's making her way to the page in the packet.
I didn't hear you either. I'm sorry. On the illegal dumping, I can understand why you have that in there, but that's not something the CSD is going to get involved in enforcing, right? It's dumping on private property.
Yeah, so we still want to be able to be part of the process. So if we see somebody illegally dumping, I've talked this over with Steve Kennedy. Our recourse is to utilize county code enforcement. So we want to be able to call county code enforcement and then, you know, be able to be part of any type of punitive action. So if we need to be, you know, a witness or whatever, provide them with documentation, we can. So that's our recourse. So yeah, we don't have land use, so I can't go out and, you know, cite people for that, but I can report them to code enforcement.
Yeah, because that's something near and dear to a lot of people here, to be able to clean up a lot of that illegal dumping. And that's my comments. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Cheryl. You tend to bring up points that I didn't even notice. I'm very thankful for that. Okay, I feel comfortable with everything in that topic. Do you?
I am also, yep.
Okay. Review of committee meeting date and time.
So if I may, I have a suggestion, which could help kind of cut down on some of our Dawn fish costs. Would you be available to meet a couple hours prior to the engineering committee meeting on Wednesday? So it would have been yesterday around 2:30 instead.
So
That-
this,
That would work for me.
at 2:30, this meeting will take place Wednesdays before engineering?
The
Yes,
first
at
Wednesday.
That
2:30.
works for
Or
me.
the third Wednesday.
And if it ever becomes a conflict or anything, we can always look at changing it. But then Dawn Fish misses this whole day of setup and coming out, so it would just be
For
one
Dawn,
day.
I'll do it.
I'm also thinking of the CRNR workers' time of coming out, because your day starts so early, so even a half hour early gives you a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Yeah.
I work around your guys' schedule, so whatever works for you guys.
I'm trying to meet in the middle with everybody, because that's the
Thank
best place to be.
It works, that works for me. Let's try it.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay, so I'll update the calendar and everything.
And we'll still be remaining once a month for the time being?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. It's a very active topic right now.
Yeah, and I do want to clear up Facebook comments. And it's confusing because, the county is doing their program at the same time, and it's so different from what we originally thought they were going to do, and ours is different. And so there's just, it's interesting. We're getting quite a bit of applications through our website from people in Victorville wanting, to sign up for service with us instead, because again, they have a Phelan address, but they're really Victorville. And so what we're doing is helping them in this process. We're giving them the phone numbers to call and get their addresses updated to actually Victorville. And then that way they'll be able to get Amazon packages. Because if you have a Phelan address, but you're actually in, that Victorville sphere, but still county, Amazon can't find you. My dad used to live over there, so you have to
When I
update
lived
your
in Baldy
address.
Mesa, I actually, in order to Google my address, I had to put down Victorville into Google. Otherwise, it showed me nowhere near where I was at.
Yeah, and then, we're getting West Cajon Valley, some people trying here, and it's a lot, but we're sorting through it.
I think you guys have done really good with how many moving pieces there are.
There are a lot, yeah, 1,050 applications so far, so.
Okay, so we've done our meeting date and time. Do we have any staff reports that we haven't gone over?
No, I did put some information from Mr. Eco in here, so we're gonna contract with him again to go out to the schools. Schools like it because there is a period of time after Mr. Eco goes out there where the schools are really clean. And they like it, and it helps us with our education and outreach requirement with Cower Cycle.
In one of the pages, it says Phelan Piñon Hills school year recap. Did they do that remotely for them, it looks like?
Yeah, so some
pretty
of the,
cool.
they do some remote classrooms, some in-person classroom presentations. They do some in-person, we went to one last year, full school assembly type things, just kind of whatever the teachers want. And we just set a cap for what we're willing to pay for. And hopefully we get another Cower Cycle grant this year, so it'll help offset that cost, but it works. And we coordinate with water conservation on this. So they have a unique message tailored to our area. Because I remember the first time he came out and I watched the show, it was all drains lead to the ocean. And I'm cause he's a rap for that. I'm no, they don't. They go to your septic tank. So he's oh, really? I'm yeah, look around. The ocean's really far. So they added a watershed component in for us. Don't pollute the watershed, right? So don't trash the desert type thing. And then water conservation for the desert. And then he was horrified when he first came out here and realized we didn't have curbside collection of recycling. Because I started working with him 6-7 years ago. He's what? You guys don't recycle at all? We're no. Look at us. This is not the community. And so he had to tailor that message. And now we're going to work with him on
Actually put your trash in the trash
Yeah, we do the food waste one because this was a very interesting thing that Cal Recycle did, which blows my mind. They made the school district responsible for the food waste portion of SB 1383. So if I were to flow chart out all the reporting we did in the district and where it all goes to, it would be like, it would look like what is it, A Beautiful Mind, where you had the charts everywhere, like a serial killer thing. So Cal Recycle reporting is really interesting. So us as a jurisdiction, I report certain things to the county, and then they report it up to Cal Recycle. And then there's other things that I report directly to Cal Recycle. Well, now the school district has to report certain things to me, which then go to the county, and then they have to report their SB 1383 items, certain SB 1383 items, directly to Cal Recycle. And come up with their own enforcement and monitoring for food waste. But then it all conflicts with the USDA's food program. They're not allowed to give out any of that food to non-income assistance students, and they have very strict disposal requirements per USDA. So I wish them luck in what they do. We're going to assist them as best we can, but I'm actually really glad that we're not responsible for that enforcement and compliance thing, because you're competing with the federal government there. So that is crazy. It's always something new.
What a tangled web they made.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's insane. So that's kind of all I have for my staff report. As always, if there's questions, just call me.
Okay, review of action items. Do we have any?
We're just going to be updating our meeting date and time. So our next meeting would actually be August 16th, and it'll be at 2:30.
Okay.
And like I said, this ordinance is going to go to the full board next week.
And that's covering both prior and current. Okay, and set the next agenda. I think we'll be able to remove the review of time and date.
Yep.
Anything else we should remove?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. Maybe ordinance revision.
Because it's already going forward.
Yeah.
Maybe add it if the board wants to toss it back only.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I think we're done. Thank you guys. You guys made it nice and easy.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your week.